Good afternoon and welcome to the Empty Skull Ranch. It's been a little bit, but I'm going to show you what I'm working on right now. Kind of doing the, well, trying to be the poor man's Jay Leno here with the car collection. Not quite as impressive as Jay Leno's, not by a long shot. Anyway, I'm going to continue to fool myself. But anyway, here is what I am working on. I had a stock type exhaust in the Impala behind me. So I am putting Cherry Bomb M80s into it. So problem is, I thought they were 2-inch outlet when I outlet and inlet when I got these mufflers and ordered them, but they weren't. So as an aid to that, I am going to slit and kind of castle the ends of them and take this 2 1/4 OD pipe and stick that in there, kind of tap-tap-a-roo it around there, and then weld up the seams, and then do a couple relief cuts on that, so when I go to place it in line in the system, it should make some kind of sense. Anyway, let's get to doing another one. I got this one already made up. Kind of terrible weld job. But is it going to hold? I hope so. All right, let's get to it. Well, here we go. A Cherry Bomb M80 is the flow. Already started prepping these ends. So I'm going to take this guy and do a bunch of inlet slits like that on either side. And we're going to see how that turns out. So here we go. I got these relief cuts all around here. I put a couple extra ones over here as to kind of give it a little bit more flex in some of the places where I might be tapping. But basic gist, that's what it is. Flap disc will clean up all the rest of the paint so that I can get a proper weld adhesion. But anyhow, there she is. Anyhow, the reason I'm doing this is it had stock type mufflers on it, and they were shorties. I don't know if it was just the kind of muffler they were or what it was, but they drone something fierce. I don't know, for all you guys that are showing their age like I am, the movie Scanners, when they would do the scan me thing. And then the other guy's head would explode. Basically, the action of the head popping is the feeling I'd get when I'd hop in this guy and it was at low idle. You hit the gas and it would go away, but it's still annoying as hell. So I'm hoping the snap, crackle, and pop out of these M80s, 2 of them, is going to be enough to disrupt that droning and kind of replace it with a little bit more percussion and a little bit of a throaty sound. So let's get some more stock cut and make up another one. All right, let's get one of these guys cut so that we can get another of these connects done. So, this guy into place, give it a couple twists, There we go. That's secure. And lastly, this guy here, because that's got the flange, so I'm going to use that to my advantage. Just got to see if I can get that on there without incident. That's going to be tough. Tough. Real tough. See how that fits. Yeah. Just about. Maybe a little bit more in. Well, there we have it. A little shorter than I may have wanted it, but it's enough to get a clamp around. Good enough for this cat. All right, we got that piece down there, and that for a later project. Save it for later. We must save all scrap pieces at all times so that there's the biggest mess possible. So this part is very precise and uses very precise engineering. Notice I'm going to start with the one that has a little bit of the flare on it. Flare. So I'm going to put that guy back right in about there so it's not too long, because this, believe it or not, is about the length of that stock style muffler. So I'm going to hold this guy to it, kind of give it a little bit of a loving embrace, and then I'm going to work these down around it. So as you see, it's still a little sloppy, but it's getting a little closer. I'm gonna keep working those down so that there's not a big gap for that weld to jump. And as it gets closer, we'll bring it on over by the machine and using electricity and molten heat permanently fuse these together. Aha, we do a little bit of this. Make it impossible to pull back out of there. As you can see, it's getting a little tighter. Come on, just a little bit tighter now. There's a reason I'm not a singer. There we go. It's getting there. Working it, working it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's close. That is very close now. Look at that. Nice, real nice. As you can see, that is as close as I can get it so that the arc is not jumping. Kind of work those a little bit more, but those tabs closed up nicely. And just going to draw a little bead right on those little slits and get a nice stack of dimes bead right across there. The reason I iterated the fact that it's a stack of dimes bead means it's not going to be a stack of dimes. It's going to be more like a cluster of popcorn that looks like absolute garbage. I've never been a good welder. Let's see what I can do. Well, as promised, there are the horrid looking beads, but it seals up the pipe, and that's all. That one is a little bit of a blowout right there, but for the most part it sealed it up. And I'm out of argon currently, so I'm using flux. So, you know, sheet metal and or thin stuff like this can be a little bit of a bear with flux. But anyhow, that's just going to repeat that on the other side, and we'll have a muffler to put in the car once it gets skyward. Well, as stated last time, the other side had the flare on it, so it was a little easier. This side was just a straight piece, so those tabs had to come over a lot more to fit it snugly in there. So, but I think that's a pretty snug fit. So let me do another one of my shoddy welding jobs and see where we end up. All right. Well, now that I got all that welded together, it is time to raise the vehicle. Now keep in mind, this is an X-frame car, and X-frame cars and two-post lifts don't go together. So I have cobbled together, once again, anybody who's watched the Empty Skull Ranch knows that each episode is filled with overtones of exercise caution and don't always do as I do. And this is a prime example of it. So I'll show you my little cobbled support system as this guy raises towards the sky. Seems to be holding pretty good for the most part. When we get underneath, I'll show you, so. All right, let's take you guys underneath and take a look-see. So as you can see, right here, I had to put a couple of wood blocks. Highly advisable. No, don't do that. If you must, use PT or something that's really rugged. I put it in according to grain pattern so that it's not on a fractious part of the grain, but it's going in a way that the grain is helping it. So let's take a look at the back. Here is where it gets really interesting. As stated before, X-frame cars do not like two-post lifts. So I had to kind of get you guys under here, but you get the picture. We have the X-frame right here, and I had to take the crane arm from my engine hoist, put it across these feet so that it bridged the gap, and also didn't push the exhaust up or on the drive shaft, which I don't think it would have come in contact with the drive shaft, but necessary evil as to getting this guy up in the air. As you can see, I got the back end disconnected, front end, put a little bit of a slit right there, but she's holding on. This is going to need some attention soon. But for now, this is what we're working on. Let's see if we can give it a little bit of relief. pry up on this a little bit. There we go. Add a pepper. Maybe down on this. There we go. Not much holding that on there now. And I got the persuader right here. There it is. Nice undercoating. Now we are going to orient our cherry bomb, noting the arrow direction of flow. Now I pre-cut this to a length. Let's see how close I got without going too far. All right. There we go. Add a pepper. Add a pepper. I don't know why I keep saying that, honestly. It just felt right. All right. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a twist. There we go. It's following that bend that I put into it. All right. I'm gonna put it where it's gonna be the strongest. Be strong. Strong like bull. Make sure the orientation of that is correct. And make sure it's strong like bull.
Make your hooky thing.
Hooky things?
Not thing.
Inside of the sling shizzle.
Oh, there's things.
You know what? Because for vanity's sake, I'm going to have cherry bomb read like that. I'm going to, I think I put the orientation slightly out of whack to get it to read. That's not really important to have it read. I was hoping, but the way it wants to fit hides the title. And I'm not advertising for them, so. Looks like that's about as straight as it can be. But as you note, it's a little loose on there. So I am going to cut a relief cut on each end so that it collapses on itself when that goes in. The relief cut will be located on the bottom, so if I must weld, I can drag a bead right across once it tightens in. So let's get this cranked in. First relief cut right there. I used this so that I could gauge right when it was there and stop so I didn't go through this pipe. Gonna do the same on the back. There we go. Just barely scored the pipe itself. A pipe. All right, we got the bolts. I think I might have to take my jacket off. Well, here we are. I still have that large clamp. As aforementioned, I should have gotten the 2 1/4 clamps instead of the 2 1/2 that I was planning on putting around these before I changed direction. But I dragged a really crappy bead around here to at least seal it in. I did so on the front too. Kind of rusty metal, so it wasn't really getting the best of grounds. So this is more popcorny than the rest of it, but like I said before, if it holds, it'll hold. Well, there we have it. I did a lot of that off camera only because there was a lot of repetitive stuff down there, and so I was able to reuse the floater. I was able to reuse some of the hose clamps, exhaust clamps on the other side, and give it a little bit more of a tight fit on that while drawing in that slit that I made. But I will show it to you in just one moment. But so a little bit more welding than I was hoping for on this end of it. Nonetheless, though, I think we got an installed exhaust at this point. So let's take a look at what we did. What have you done? See if my Fonzie hair is still intact. There's a lot of sparks that flew overhead, and I'm kind of concerned. You know, the dew is the dew, man, and I gotta keep the dew as long as I can. All right, so let's take a look underneath this guy. Basically, well, this guy is gonna have to get rebuilt. That check valve. Anyway, off topic. So, there they are. Had to do a little bit of patching on them just to get them to sit there the right way. Both sides, which I did that off camera. Would have been a lot of boring back and forth. But basically, you get the picture. The important thing was getting the mufflers fabbed up to go over onto it. And I was able to reuse these guys. It's a little close. I was able to reuse these guys on this side, along with a little bit of the aid of some weld on there just to hold it in place. And just to cover the spots that we're going to leak. And same on this side. Did it almost entirely by weld. It is entirely by weld over here. So hopefully this is strong enough, like I said. Tough to get that set when it's fluxing here out of argon. To do sheet metal is very difficult with flux core. Hard to set it to the right setting. And it doesn't help that my welding skills are not the best to begin with. But anyway, let's pull this guy down and see what it's sounding like. Follow this back here. Pipes are routed the same way they were prior. Threw a little bit of fluid film on these frame rails back here and on this gas tank. Surface rust, but overall, no rot. Held up pretty good. I think once we do that check valve, I should get a case of fluid film and we should do an entire fluid film slathering and have a grand old time and get this thing coated, ready for anything. Not that I'm going to drive it in the wintertime, but it's still not a bad idea to get it coated. So let's listen to what this sounds like, and if we are minus that scanner's head explode droning. Anyway, the slow descent as it comes down. Ba-ba-boo, ba-ba-boo. Alrighty, well, let's give it a twist. It's also a cold start because this has not been run today. So, gotta give it a few little pumps to get it primed up. the intensity of the skull splitting scanner's drone. But let's get a couple of revs for you guys. Well, still has a little bit of a drone to it, but not quite as bad as it was, because before you'd walk around behind it and you literally had to hold your head. It was so so in comparison, this is a lot better. A 1964 Corvette. It's a 327. Looks stunningly like a 283, but this was originally the carbureted 327 from the 64 Corvette, 365 horsepower. I did a couple little lookups on that block number and the intake number and all that, and was very pleased to find that out. So whoever had this car before I did had done the swap, because it's supposed to be a 283. It's badged as such, but definitely happy to have that Corvette 327 in there. Mr. Bones hit it. I like it. Just throaty enough. Way better. Now that it's warmed up, I really don't hear much of a drone at all. I'm very happy with it overall. Great success. All right, well guys, this is it for your last excerpt of the Empty Skull Ranch. I got 2 new revolvers to show you guys. I got a 1911 to show you guys, and we're gonna get them out to you as soon as possible. Hopefully this week. All right, guys, see you next time on the Empty Skull.